Hey everybody, Chomsky here. Happy Saturday. Um, kind of hitting a lull before this fusion, and just wanted to talk about previous fusions uh, since I first started, and just want to talk about the 2020 fusions and 2021, and seeing how they stack up, and then compare it to this new dude, Titus, that's going to be coming out. So just a few thoughts and just a few run throughs, and yeah, just really want to talk about it. So here we are. I promise less than a 30-minute video. Um, I am aiming for 20 minutes, if that. So, really just going to go through it. I'll go easy. Uh, Dude sucks. If you get Vergamcar, um, very niche. Yeah, a very small strip from the from the enemies. Um, Immune to provokes, which kind of helps in hard faction wars, but outside of that, I'm not really getting a good sense of them anywhere. Just if you bring them up to 60, great, cool. Uh, Congratulations. I'd save those resources. Elegias has got a special place in my heart because this was one of the first fusions I completed. Um, Elegias is just weird, but also a lot of fun too. I didn't really do anything special with him. Really just wanted to save my resources. Dude doesn't use a lot. He's not going to be doing a lot of damage because it's based on HP, but he does a lot of funky stuff like removing buffs, decreasing their turn meters, and that's at least another 20% if um, if we remove some buffs. He does have this very minor um, heal, like just basically a prevention of death, which was really rad at the time when this was introduced, but now not so much. Yeah, attacks one enemy. I mean, he's fine, but really, it's not that good. This was gnarly, but like, eh, you know, if he gets updated for 2025 slash 2026, that'd be neat. Just kind of wonky, just a mixer. Here's Rorik. I can make him +4. I haven't. Um, Really Game of Thrones esque. I wish they did do a collab back then, but they didn't. He comes up every so often in my Cursed City, and I just rue the day. Um, I really had high hopes for him because this A3 does hit. I've seen it hit. It does well, but he doesn't have a sense of counterattacking on himself unless you basically do the mastery of it. Um, Outside of that, like he's okay, but like not the greatest. I wouldn't spend time building him out. Yoshi, talking about 2021. Um, yeah, dude, dude was kind of fun to mess around with. I'll be honest. Getting an increased attack and increased accuracy, as well as a potential true fear on everybody else. Like that's neat, man. True fear. Uh, he was one of the like outside of Salad. Yoshi was a dependable source of true fear, and as a Lego, and that was neat to mess around with in Arena. The passive kicks in 4% each time an enemy receives a buff. That could be pretty big against Siffy, against a lot of those Jamokes. I don't think he's that bad. I had used him in Hydra in the initial, like when we first had to get a lot of teams going. I thought he was okay. Um, easy, easy B, mid tier champ. Again, not necessarily an immediate 6-star, like toss on your best stuff, but a very good support champ. And especially for Shadowkin, some of those hard faction wars, really getting True Fear out there could save your ass. Vlad, I think is just this guy was phenomenal when he first came in. We're going to get block active skills, decreased defense, as well as a perfect veil on himself, a leech, and then stealing turn meter. You know, that's fine. Or decreasing it, even like that's fine, man. That's a pretty solid A2. I haven't used him that much. He's not booked or anything like that, but he's still a lot of fun. Um, there's another Twitch streamer, the cursed one. He always said that Vlad should have been the first mythical, and I'll agree with that. Like, dude, dude was an easy layup for Plarium to make him as the first mythical. They just didn't do it. Um, but yeah, solid champ still holds up today. Getting the block active skills out there really helpful. Really helpful in progression as well as in arena if you have them. He's not going to weak hit. Um, a top mid tier champ for sure. I would not. I would eventually put him on the list to make him 6-star because of that. This revive on death, it's fine, but it's okay. Um, you need Constantine, so that's kind of rough, but he's okay. By himself, he's fine. Mother Cybele, I remember Nub talking about Mother Cybele really killing it in Hydra, so I was enamored with it. The AoE hits are fantastic. You're putting out a decreased speed as well as filling up her turn meter. That's pretty solid. You know, an increased defense with a revive on a 3 turn, phenomenal, cool. This health swap that gets kind of wonky, but if you can make it work, and then you know a full heal, that's neat. I nothing bad about that. And then you get another heal and turn meter like when she's revived. That's pretty sweet. You know, put her in hex set, provoke set, whatever, and then put her in Hydra and she's fine. Um, Again, a solid B champ. You know, Cillian, really, I'm trying to find good words to say about him. Uh, he's he's all right. Again, I would put him in lower B champ, maybe even a C champ, just because like a 50% here, um, putting out decreased speed is fine. Block active skills, kind of like what I was talking about with Vlad. Like this is okay. But on a 4-turn cooldown, 100% chance for 2 turns, okay. Just kind of long. Um, Attacking one enemy, a stun, eh. And it does hit a 1-3-3 champ, you know, and he is self buffing. I guess the best thing to say about Cillian is that he empowers Rhonda. So if you get him, cool. If you have Rhonda, you could empower, but I don't like empowering unless if I have him go to 2 or 4. Next up is Kreela. Kreela saves my ass in Curse City when it's at the very last segment of it, and it's Fire Knight. So really, it's just trying to get her going to do the ally attack. It sucks that this is not exactly 100%. Um, Unless it is, it seems like it doesn't at all times. Um, it's I guess it has a chance not to work, or Chomsky's off his rocker. I don't know, but she's okay. Like a solid B champ, really solid B champ. And for 2020, it was okay, but it doesn't really hold up well now. You're putting a shield, okay, cool, but I feel like there should be something else. You know, it's fine. Brogni 2021, phenomenal champ. This was the shield buff cannot be removed. This was the protection before protection became a thing. So this was valuable to begin with, and then we have an increase. That's phenomenal, and it's still going to turn back today when we get Titus. So that's pretty sweet. And then we have an HP burn. Okay, you had me at the immovable shield, and then we have a reflect damage. Like that's pretty crazy. And again, 2021, this was I think at the tail end of it. Um, so that was that was pretty wild for that to happen. Um, just really, really good. Like I'm a fan. Solid A tier champ, by the way, and I think that's the first one out of this group. Here we have Mossbeard. Really, Mossbeard was really good just for Hydra stuff because he's putting poisons on us with the A3, and in the mastery, where is it? It's this is embarrassing. Da, 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 da. This is embarrassing. I know that there's a mastery with that. I could just take a look at Trunda, can't I? You definitely want that. No. Nope. Nope. Mm. Hey Chomsky, what are you talking about, right? I could have sworn there was a mastery that you had to have to make Mossbeard really go. This is why you do your work. This is why you do your prep work, right? But we're doing this in one take. You know the rules. There we go. Stoked to Fury. So if your champs do have Stoked to Fury as the mastery, those poisons that Mossbeard puts out there, you get up to 12% more damage. That's awesome. Outside of that, he's putting out their block buffs. You know, uh, with this on all enemies, which is pretty okay. If you don't have an Ugo, the Epic, then this works. Without changing all those masteries for those debuffs to actually really, really go nuts, then yeah, this is basically that's his bread and butter. And yeah, he could also heal ya, but like really, you have him in there just to toss in those debuffs, and because of that, I B minus, maybe even C tier champ. Um, Speaking of Hydra, again, 2021 was kind of like the precursor for Hydra. So Cantro is really leaned on, you know, decreasing their accuracy because there wasn't too many consistent decrease accuracy. Um, so she was pretty neat. And then, honestly, more debuffs out there. This came out of the gates. Whenever she took a turn, so you basically speed tune her to go maybe fourth or fifth, and have everybody else put out those debuffs. Then provoke that head of Hydra, like but after it got bugged or nerfed, where you could actually provoke them, and she was really solid. Still could get used. It's just inconsistent. Is basically the adjective I would use on her. Um, a B for sure. Maybe even a B plus, depending on the team that she's on. So okay. Astrolon was really neat. Dude looks sick. Like legit sick. Um, Artistically well done, but I really hated going up against them in arena because this was a stun that was automatic. I just remember losing many fights in arena because this guy stunned, and it was really annoying. Today, 2025, is he still useful? Yeah, like you know, faction wars, but like I don't really use him that much. It is cool that he does have that revive on his A2, but like, yeah, I don't really use him that much. I would like to. I wouldn't mind dusting him off, but for right now, I'm not. Solid B plus champ. I'm thinking about progression, Doom Tower, Arena, if you have them. Tutura, I thought she was really badass, like a giant lion. that's a high elf, um, with no synergy with anyone else. Like a character buddy system. That was weird, but the perfect veil is really used a lot um, in Hydra, but like still, you can maybe even get away with bringing in Tutura to Chimera. You get decreased accuracy, you get your block debuffs, increased defense. The perfect veil for that trial, a shield. It's only on him, it, um, but still it could help. The freeze doesn't really work too much, but it does on the first half of this. So still useful. I mean, you don't see him around too much, see her around too much, but still neat to potentially utilize. Uh, a solid B. Um, yeah, just you could, you know, but doesn't mean you should. Ruel was pretty gnarly when he first came out. Um, we had we had Hex coming out, which was like, oh, what is this? And that was really cool. Increase accuracy, and there are some stuff. Uh, I remember seeing another Twitch streamer, Niklas Raid. Um, he basically made a supercharged Ruel and did a boatload of damage because you bust out the Hex, and then you do this and just ignoring all that defense, you know. Yeah, and with that passive, really really solid. It's just that he is hella squishy, like the dude has very little sustainability, and it was just hard. So he's hard to keep up. If you do have a reviver, a consistent reviver with them, you could do well with them, but I couldn't, and that's why I have some gear on these people and some I don't. Herndig, this was my campaign farmer for the longest time. Still like him, dude. Dude packs a punch. We got a depletion of turn meter, and then if that does happen, he's putting out their weaken as well as HP burn. So I still use him for ice spider, just for HP burn in Curse City. Still solid. He's putting out their decreased defense and accuracy. That's awesome. And then he's doing a pretty heavy A1. Here, okay, you know, he gets 10% if he gets hit. You don't want him to get hit. Like the dude could take a punch or two, but you don't want that to be consistently happening. But I would put him at A minus. I did bring him to Hydra. I thought this was really good because I don't build my champs with resistance. Here you get decreased accuracy, so that basically, it helps out. Because if they can't land it on you, you can resist it. Sigmund, I know that he's a login or a promo code at one point or another. I talked about him. He's okay. The shield is really good, especially with Titus. Doesn't provoke, and then he does have the ability to strip. So that's not too bad. I used him in Amius. I you know, he's a defense, so he's okay to sustain. I think you could do better, but if you can, if you have him early on, he's definitely going to be a hard carry. Skull Lord, I'm sorry, I didn't do grades here. Um I would go with a B plus with Huntmaster, just because dude does pack a punch. And then you got Sigmund. I would do a B, borderline B plus, just because the shield is very useful as well as a strengthen on a 3-turn cooldown. And this, he's a 1-3-3 defense based. I solid B to B plus. Skull Lord, I still use in Doom Tower. Outside of that, he's okay. Decrease attack, a provoke that's only one, and then putting a strength in. He did get bumped up, but like he's still meh, still mediocre. You know, it's all right. Um, It's just this thing that really helps out against Scarab King. That's where I use them. So I'd put a solid C plus, B minus, very niche. All right, rounding out the end here, man. Versov, one of the heaviest hitters because of the multipliers, um, or at least the rating of those multipliers. In practice, really kind of hard to get going. It's this A2 that is really, really heavy. Places an extra hit, and then just on stun, freeze, on CC, fear, true fear, provoke, petrification, and then it has a chance to put leech. Fantastic, awesome. You know, increased defense for us and ally protect could help out. 20% chance of placing provoke. Okay, cool. I get that cycle going. It'd have been cool if this was like 50 or 60%. That would have been amazing. That would have elevated this guy's B status to maybe an A status. But because this is 20%, it stays in that B mode. Uh, he has it on this. That's fine. Again, basic champ that can do a lot for you in content. It's just when you pull him now, you're like, ugh, and I'm there with you. But he can be sneaky. Can be sneaky. Um, Drokel, dude, dude was my first +4. You know, he had the shield, which is neat. Um, crank him up with as much HP as you can, and then it's an immediate heal. Cool. You get a boatload of stuff here. You get increased attack and increased defense. There's not that many that do that. So that's pretty cool. And especially if your allies are less than a third of life, you get block damage on them. That's cool. But that's it. Like, outside of that, shield and increased attack, increased defense, I just want something else. So a really solid C plus, you know, um, yeah, solid C plus. Last two, Iron Brago. This is a 21 um, fusion. I enjoy Iron Brago a lot just because of the increased defense here. That passive is so nice because you're getting like he hasn't changed too much for me. You're getting almost 7,000 defense here with him. To get to get 10% of that, it's 700. To get 700 more defense, that's basically a banner and a shield of defense. That's pretty sweet. Uh, and he has provoke. You know, I didn't see the need to necessarily do that with him, so he's not booked. But if you have him, he's pretty good. Um, if he is under increased defense, he does have that chance to put out decrease attack. So that's really neat. So you go A2, then A1, A3. That's not bad. You know, um, I am not opposed. Um, yeah, like not bad. Uh, A minus, just because that passive. And then the last one was Rotos. If you go against Rotos, you know how difficult he is, especially if he has a Siffy with him. Um, just really, really good. Single target, but he can quickly decimate you. You know, he goes A3, then A2, and then a potential A1 of getting more turns. That's really neat. So he's ignoring target 60% of target defense, ignoring unkillable and block damage on this, and enemies killed by this skill cannot be revived if this champion has gained maximum amount of HP from his A2. So you basically need to get more than 15,000 health from the A2. Then the A3 basically becomes a block revive. So 2-turn cooldown. Okay, there's a chance that you're going to be able to do that. I, this is one of the only damage dealing skills that's on a 2-turn cooldown in the game. So that's really gnarly. Um, he gets an A plus for me. He's not S tier anymore, but he's definitely up there. Um, you pull him up to 60 almost immediately in the next champ training or personal reward CBC. Just really really good. You still see him in live arena from time to time. Um, really really good. I honestly an awesome awesome fusion like him and Newt and to lesser extent Brogni. They are talked about as fusion like S tiers because they are. Um, in the game though, they're not, but they are really really solid champs. So, and I say this all because fusions are like, oh, should you skip or whatever, and yeah, these are older fusions, and I'm gonna do another one on more current fusions, but for the time being, yeah, they help me progress. So they are not exactly as skippable, but you should pay attention to your account and those champs that are fusibles. Like, yeah, make sure that they work with you. As a collector here, I really enjoy plugging and playing them into my teams and all that other stuff. But yeah, I think they're solid. Um, I am not. There's some that I regret going for, like Vermincar, like him. Um, I don't really use them. Don't really need them. I went nuts for Gurptuk just because I fell in that, and then same thing with Drogel. I thought they were okay. Eligaius being my first, I was like super excited just to join all the others. But yeah, those are 4 out of 21 that I kind of regret. So whatever 1 divided by 7, well, 21 divided by 4 is 7. So 1 divided by 7, it's 14. I have 14% regret and going for fusion champs. Not not too bad. I'm okay with it. I am okay. But yeah, that's all I got to say about those. I'm gonna do another video shortly on more current ones. Hopefully, see you there. Um, yeah, drop me a comment. Tell me how off I am. Look forward to talking to you guys soon. Bye bye bye.